On today's episode of Locked On Stars, I jumped on Starcastic Remarks with Ryan Chambers to discuss the Dallas Stars' 5-1 win over the Chicago Blackhawks and plenty more.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. I'm not going to take too much of your time, Stars fans. I was able to hop on with Ryan Chambers of Starcastic Remarks last night, and we discussed all things Dallas Stars hockey, from the Stars' victory last night over the Blackhawks. We talked about some of the positives. We got into plenty of the negatives this season. I think it was a very lethargic experience for both of us. So without further ado, here is our little crossover edition as I hopped on Starcastic Remarks.
Hey guys, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. Here in just a second, we're going to be joined by a special guest. But as always, thank you to DraftKings Gametime for using the promo code THPN. It's the best way to join us and join our sponsors and helping us out here at Starcastic Remarks. So after the episode 2 days ago, I was negative Nancy, down on the dumps, depressed. Insert negative screaming word here. And I had some people tell me, Ryan, you need to take a break for a second. Well, that couldn't happen because of the way things happened. But I did call in some reinforcements here today. He was glad enough to and gracious enough to join me here tonight. It is, of course, Joey Erickson, former producer of 105.3 The Fan and host of Locked On Stars. He's been a busy boy this afternoon. He had his own game at 3 and then watched the Stars, and then here is joining me here this evening. So, hey, Joey, thanks again for joining me here tonight just to keep my sanity a little bit.
Absolutely, man. I'm thrilled to be here, and I think everybody that's a Stars fan certainly agrees with that feeling you felt a few days ago. I was fortunate enough not to have to do an episode since I was very busy this weekend. If I had to, I would have been in your same spots and I would have been a negative Nancy. And for most of the season, I feel like I've been that way. So we have something positive to talk about, at least tonight, but some negatives built in there. But that seems to be the way the Star season is going so far.
And that's you mentioned a perfect word for this game tonight, just right before we started recording here today. You said the word completely unfazed. The Stars won 5-1 against another NHL team, and it was a blowout basically. But especially in the first period, you said that it was completely unfazed. What makes you say that?
Yeah, well, the first 13 minutes went by, and, I caught myself thinking, because it just felt like Chicago was dictating and controlling the majority of play. And I'm sitting there and just thinking back to last season and thinking about how Dallas did that to almost every team they played last season. I felt like it was the Stars that would jump out and control and dictate possession and dictate the play. And it just felt like the Blackhawks were coming in waves. Bedard was all over the place. He was firing shots towards Ottinger. And then you get a power play early, same old story. Nothing comes of it. And then the Blackhawks score a power play goal 6 seconds into their first opportunity. And I just sat there and was like, okay, here we go again. I've become so numb to the Dallas Stars and their inability to score on the power play. It has been so inept this season, but they found a way to get the job done. And I thought 5-on-5, the game was a lot closer than the scoreboard, I think, truly shows. Any chance of Chicago coming back was dashed in the first 10 seconds of the third period when Johnston got that lucky goal. But other than that, you got a couple of key players on the score sheet. It seemed that 5-minute major in the second period after the Bertuzzi elbowing penalty gave Dallas some life. And I don't know what it is with the Stars. There's just spurts or moments in a game where all of a sudden they just look like they want to play and they have energy and they have some spirit in their game, right? It it almost baffles me because it's in there. And it reminded me again sort of the win against Utah they had last week or whatever Monday it was. The Christmas break has thrown me off. But
Monday.
Yeah, all of a sudden against Utah, just like it flipped a switch. And that 5-minute major power play finally gave them some life. And it also helped that Robo scored. Yes, you would love for them to score more, but everything has been an absolute chore for the Dallas Stars this season. It hasn't been easy. Nothing has been handed to them. And you just take the one power play goal and you hold on to it for as long as you can right now. They go 1 for 7. It's abysmal, but everything has been a chore. In that first period, I'm just like, it's a struggle to get out of your own zone. It's a struggle to make plays. It's a struggle to get shots. It's just a struggle to do everything. And then it started opening up. Is it Chicago? Absolutely. But as you mentioned, they beat another NHL team, and we'll take that right now.
There's so many points there that you could jump on there. I mean, all good things that you said, but that power play is going to continue to be the thing that everybody talks about.
It's going to be the death of everybody.
Well, and it's just the way that the Stars have lost games this year. And I mean, none more astute than what we saw. And I was there in the press box for the game against Minnesota 2 days ago. That's the worst I've felt at a Stars game in a very long time. Like and maybe I had just gotten used to the fact that the last 2 years the Stars have been as good as they were, and we were kind of spoiled a little bit with the way that they were playing. 2 Western Conference final appearances, and I don't want to talk about it like this, Joey, but James is kind of making me come around to this. My brother, this is not the same team as last year. And that's sad to think about. But right now, the feeling for a lot of people is this team is not as good as the last 2 years. And that's extremely frustrating considering a lot of the players, especially on the forward side, are the exact same. Really the only big glaring difference is Joe Pavelski. And I know people will point to the Marchment and the Sagan injuries as well, but the issue is that the Stars were not playing good before those injuries happened anyways. Yeah. And it just sucks to and on top of that, those 2 guys were 2 of the 3 guys that are the only ones that have been on a hot streak at some point this year. Like I know we talk about like Dadonov having probably one of the best seasons of his career right now. He's been fantastic this year. And then it's even more frustrating just because the thing that we were relying upon the most going into this season has let us down the most this year. Like we knew goaltending was going to be pretty good. Everyone was talking about the defense.
Yes.
Everybody was, and about the frustration with the defense. And well, okay, what are we going to do to fix it? Because we know we're going to get scoring, and we know we're going to be fine there because we had 8 20-goal scorers last year. And that's been the most frustrating thing to me is that, and the defense has come through. And like Dumbo was playing better before he got hurt. Liam Bichsel has been a revelation for the Dallas Stars. No surprise there, but he's been very good in the limited minutes that he's played. And then Lundqvist has been an absolute revolution this year. He has been incredible, just on the defensive side especially. So I think that's just where I'm at with this team right now. It's the frustration is getting to me that the expectations are not being met for me when I feel like this team can be a lot better. And again, offense is letting us down. Defense and goaltending has been good. So,
yeah, I feel like I've had to come to peace with some of those questions that you're asking yourself, where it's just, look, I don't think the Star ceiling is as high as we thought coming into the season. And that's a hard truth to sort of, or a hard pill to swallow right now. And you mentioned the offense. Really, outside of Marchment, Duchene, and Sagan, Dallas hasn't had a lot of consistent scoring from anybody else. And once again, tonight, you see guys like Robertson get on the board, Miro as well a couple of times, Jamie Benn with 3 points, and we hope it's a turning point. We hope it's a change for better for the weeks to come, and it seems to get stopped in its tracks right away. And it was funny with Joe Pavelski in the building. I immediately said, take the over tonight. And Dallas puts up 5. And it's like the first time they've had more than 3 goals. It feels like in a few weeks. Yeah. Okay. 7 games. So yeah, exactly. It's been a chore for them to pitch in offensively for a lot of different stars, for just a lot of them. And it was good to see Robo tonight that was just throwing anything and everything towards the net. Of course, he was aided by the power play, a lot more space to make plays, but he was firing the puck. I think he had 5 shots on goal. He probably had 12 shot attempts. Like he was throwing the pill around, and, Johnston looked, like himself. And you mentioned Lundqvist. I thought he was so damn good tonight. He made a wonderful play on Bedard in the first period, and in the second period, he watched Donato just use his stick and his reach. And he's not a big guy, but now he's understanding how to use his body and the frame he has in order to take pucks away on the board, especially. And he's been a revelation too for the Stars. I think offensively, in terms of the way he can at least get the puck and move it, because it just feels like sometimes Dallas gets caught in just these flips up the wall and it gets hammered right back into their zone. And yeah, I mean, the questions we had coming into the year were like the Brendan Smiths and the Lyubushkins of the world, and the Dumba. And look, Dumba hasn't worked out at all. Lyubushkin's been fantastic. Brendan Smith is Brendan Smith. He's the Joel Hanley. He comes in, serves some time, but it's just everything else and all the for sure things we thought we had has not come to fruition. And look, maybe we were too bullish on Dallas coming into this season. And it's funny, I had somebody ask me today, do you think the Stars are a playoff team? And I had to sit there and go yeah, they're a playoff team. I don't know where they fall within the West. At this point, I'm just okay, you just get in. And I still have the belief they're going to be pretty different looking come playoff time, I hope, if they go make some moves. So just get in anywhere, and we'll go from there. But that question was asked, and I said, I had to sit there, and I thought that was oh God, over the last few seasons, I haven't had to say that. It almost takes you back to about 6 years ago.
Yeah, I know exactly. that just when they posted that, I forgot who it was. There was some people on Instagram, some people on X that were posting pictures of the standings right before the Utah game, and being the Stars are out of the playoffs picture right now. If the playoffs started today based off of and I know that, with games in hand and points percentage and all that stuff, I understand, but it's still a wake up call. Yes. And it should be a wake up call for the Dallas Stars. And again, that's something I've had to grapple with the last couple of days. It sounds like you did your soul searching a little bit earlier than I did. I was not willing to give it up until probably against the Minnesota game.
That's what happens when you do a solo show all the time, Ryan. Oh, you have a lot of intrusive thoughts.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Question everything.
Man, I'm telling you, I don't know how you do it by yourself all the time, man. I mean, props to you, because man, I had never felt that bad. And I was just feeding off of chat and my own brain, and just and I kept starting sentences with, well, I'm trying to be positive here. And then it just soured. It didn't matter what I tried to spin something. I'm just I can't. And again, kind of talking about this game and last game, there were so many good things in the first 40 minutes, the first 50 minutes of the game against the Wild. And then lots of good things here again tonight. It was fantastic. Lots of good things. Seriously. I mean, yes, they get a lot of power plays, but they do get a power play goal. And like you said, you're going to hold on to that, and it's a little bit of success, and then you go on, you move forward with it, whatever happens. But, and this is another thing that I've said, and I can't believe I'm saying it again. I haven't said it for 3 years. This team right now is not only unpredictable, but they are consistently inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And I think those are 2 key words that I haven't had to say the last 2 years. I think I said it 3 years ago. And then even during the COVID bubble playoffs a little bit, I was just this team is a little inconsistent with their ability to get the puck in or whatever. And we're kind of back to that a little bit. Yes, Again, there are lots of excuses and lots of reasons why you could say that, but I'm also at the point where I'm done making excuses for these guys. It's just like I know the ability that they have. They know the ability they have. The coaching staff, the entire organization, they know the ability that they have, and they're just falling flat on their face. I mean, it's almost like they watched the Dallas Cowboys this season and they're like, hey, we can do better. We can really, really go nosedive. Now, it's not as bad as the Rangers, but still, it's so frustrating. And in this game tonight, there's so many good things. Like you mentioned all the good stuff. Robo, I think 2 or 3 points. Wyatt Johnston has one bounce off of him, gets the luckiest goal in the world. That hasn't happened a whole bunch. I mean, Jamie Benn has been quietly probably the Stars' most consistent offensive player. We haven't talked about him enough. At least I haven't. But you can't talk about all the good things, it feels like, in these single episodes after games because then they turn around and then they're just as bad the next game. And there's nothing to build off of. That's another reason why I've been so frustrated with this team this year.
Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even know I was paying, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow up your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved up a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of your app's premium features. We have so many subscriptions we have to pay for. It feels like sometimes you got to pay 5 different subscriptions just to watch your favorite show, to watch your favorite team, and Rocket Money helps you control all of them. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Yeah, it's one step forward, 2 steps back with Dallas this season, and it's really been that way since the beginning. Jamie Benn had a really good night. He was noticeable. There are some nights where I feel like he's impactful, but he's really not making any plays for himself or teammates. Tonight, he was engaged, and when Jamie Benn is engaged and playing a physical brand and style of hockey, that usually leads to good things for him and his line mates. You know, Duchene with Johnston and Benn looked pretty good tonight. I think they ended up with about 4 scoring chances at 5-on-5. That was the most of any other line, and I know they're just throwing the lines in a blender right now. Who would have thought Dadonov may be the answer with Rope, Hintz, and Robertson, although we didn't see a lot from them at 5-on-5, but that was a sweet little feed by Duchene to get Dadonov on that one-timer, and that's a tough goal to score. I mean, that's a lot of time for that puck to travel, and Soderblom got over, and Dadonov had to elevate to celebrate there, and he was able to get that one home. It was nice for them to extend the lead too. It seems like they just try to hold on to those 1-2 goal lead, like you mentioned the other night against Minnesota, and good teams will make you pay for that if you're just going to lollygag around. And this time Dallas was able to build off that lead and to bring it back to, Steve Spott and DeBoer and the coaching staff. DeBoer always mentioned right when he first got here about how he was handed the key to a Mercedes and just don't mess it up. And he was true to some degree. Like, Dallas has a great roster. Well, it isn't the most well-constructed roster this year. Like, they downgraded in a few positions. So, like, he has to earn his paycheck now. Like, he really has to earn it. Like, this is where you need your head coach to find answers. And I'll give them credit for now, at least throwing the lines in a blender a bit. It's probably too late and at this point in the season. It probably should have done almost a month ago. Although, you get some nights. I feel like every time I went on Locked On Star, one of the episode I did, I said, I did twice this year. I said, okay, it's time to split up Robo and Rope. And then the next night they go out and have like 4 goals. And right when I say they should be split up, but it's not good enough for just a 1 game off against San Jose or 1 game against the Chicagos of the world. They have to have 24 and 20. Like the Stars are only going to go as far as 21 and 24 will allow them to. It'll always come down to them because those are the players that you rely on to score big time goals. And when you have a gut check moment, who's going to score? Colorado knows they have Makar and McKinnon. Edmonton knows they have McDavid and Draisaitl. And yes, Dallas has so much depth and different personnel and different weapons to use, but who can you rely on to be the difference? Who can you rely on to score the goal when you're down by 2 in the third to get the momentum rolling? And Dallas is really bad from behind this season. I'm sure you've documented that plenty of times, and we don't have to get into it, but they need someone that wants to change the game on an every night basis. And you see it sometimes. You get it in spurts, but it has to be a better collective. And DeBoer's having to earn his paycheck this season. And Spot, I don't know what else there is to say about the power play, Ryan. I've beat it into a pulp on every episode I do. I'm honestly tired of talking about it. I don't care anymore. And as I mentioned, I'm just numb. I'm just numb to the fact that this is what it's going to be. And they don't really change anything. They flip some personnel around, but a lot of it's the same stuff. Still, even tonight, and Robo had to make a really nice individual play. It wasn't like some pretty passing play. Like Dallas almost, gave it up at their blue line. They had some nifty passing work, and then Robo just made a great play and beat Soderblom. So, they have to figure. 1 for 7 is not going to get it done. 1 for 7 is atrocious, and this is a trend from last spring too. This isn't just this season thing. It's been going on for a while. So anyways, I digress.
I want to give Stars fans a platform to talk about and vent their feelings about what's going wrong with this team and everything like that. And a lot of them have been saying fire Steve Spott. I know you've seen it. You can't ignore it. It doesn't matter where you look; it's everywhere. The DLOS guys have talked about it. You've talked about it. I've talked about it. Even GJ Spittle has talked about it too.
Yeah.
So it's just, but for me, it's yes, he absolutely deserves to be criticized 100%. Like that's one of his main jobs is that power play has got to score. They got to get their opportunities in the back of the net. But at the end of the day, it's not just Steve Spott. It's Pete DeBoer, and it's also Elaine Nasruddin and all the rest of the coaching staff. And ultimately, it's on Pete DeBoer. Like when we have talked about the power play in post-game conferences with Pete DeBoer, whether it's Taylor, Leah, Mike, me, Sam, it doesn't matter who it is. He never mentioned Steve Spott by name almost. I think he does that 100% on purpose because he knows that storyline is being talked about out there. And he puts it 100% on himself. And that's where I think that, again, he's got to earn his money. And like you mentioned, he talked about the Mercedes when he first got the job here. Well, it's not really a Mercedes anymore. It might be an Audi. Or it might be a really good Toyota or something like that. It's still a good car.
It gets good gas mileage at least.
Good gas mileage, but you got to make it last a little longer than it's probably needed to be. And then on the other front, I've talked about this at length, especially in the off season when we've had almost nothing to talk about. But Chris James and I have talked about, and again, the DLS guys talked about it before the season even started. And they only had a month before the season started talking about this. Who is that elite forward that the Stars have? And, some people have said that Robo needs to be that person. Well, we haven't really seen that in the playoffs from him. So you can't really rely upon him to be that. We've seen it from Rope. 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, he was the leading scorer in the playoffs for a long time, even after the Stars were knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he finished third still.
Yeah,
I think after it's all said and done. Yeah.
And then a player for me that has honestly been a little bit underwhelming, and maybe it's not fair for me to expect as much from him just because he's been so good and not much was expected from him to begin with.
53.
Wyatt Johnston. Yes.
Yeah.
I still believe that he is the guy that is going to be that Connor McDavid for the Dallas Stars. I'm not calling him Connor McDavid, but who do you look to for a big goal and a big moment and a big playoff game? And I'm sorry, I love Robo to death. He's a great regular season player, but we haven't seen it from him all that much. 2 years ago, he was atrocious. Last year, he was better. This year, he has not started off well in the regular season. So maybe that means he'll have a great
yes, exactly.
I don't know if that's what that means. But for Wyatt Johnston really needs to be that player for the Dallas Stars. And again, that's not fair. He's 22.
Yeah.
22, 23.
I mean, 100%. I'm right there with you. I was screaming his name from the rooftops this whole offseason because I truly think he can become a top 5, top 10 center in the National Hockey League. That's how good I think he is and can become. And he's been snake bitten a bit this season, but he is so young. But, with his wonderful playoff success he had last season, like that comes with extra attention. And I think he gets marked a bit more. He's on more scouting sheets now. Like, okay, like we have to watch 53 a bit more. So there is some adjustments in that. And it probably helps that he has somebody like Joe Pavelski he can talk with and talk about some of that experience. I'm sure Pav went through that in his career where you become sort of an established guy, and it's almost weird to say that. And that's crazy. I think Butchercross said on ESPN tonight, it was like his 199th career game. Like that's almost insane that he's already been around the block that much. It'll only prove dividends down the line. And maybe it'll come out in the postseason, and who knows, like you're starting to see the flashes again from the end of last season with Wyatt a bit more than I would even say Robo number one, not Rope. I think Rope's been probably one of the best stars over the last probably few weeks or so in terms of his point production. But Wyatt can be that elite number one forward that can change games for you. And we saw it in that first round series against Vegas, like in game 3 when the Stars were down 2-0 on the road. Who scores the OT goal when you needed one? It was Wyatt Johnston. And it feels like he was a lightning bug and a spark. Logan Stankoven, for as much as he does without the puck, and he does so much that's not on the score sheet. And it's almost, it sucks that all we have to look at sometimes and all people zoom in on is the P column, because he does so many other things other than just produce points. But if those two can start to marinate and start to get that jump that we expected from him coming into the season, the Stars will be dangerous. And that's what gives me some hope, Ryan. It's like, man, we're talking about all these things that like could happen, and there's so many different guys and different weapons that the Stars have that haven't played to their full potential. And it's like, okay, like that almost gets you jittery thinking about the type of team Dallas could become, even in their current form. Do they need a trade or two? Do they need another scoring winger? Yeah. Do they need somebody on the back end like a Chris Tanev? Absolutely. But they can really help themselves out by fixing some internal issues up front, especially. Ritzkovia made his NHL debut tonight. I thought he looked okay. He only played, I think, under 6 minutes just because of the special teams fiasco that we had tonight. But, he looked aware, and I thought he had some good moments. I noticed him, at least maybe because it's in his NHL debut and you want to key in on him. But it was good to see him get out there. So that was a positive as well to bring it to a lighter side. He had a decent game for his first start.
Yeah, I didn't see anything that I disliked out of him tonight. Chris is living in Austin, so he's gotten to see Ritzkovian quite a bit, which is good. And he's talked about a lot of good things that he's done. So I was really excited to get a chance to watch him tonight. again, like you said, I noticed him, and it wasn't just because it was his NHL debut, but there were a couple plays that he made that I thought were really good, and he had some decent plays, and I'm sure he was excited to play because I think this is his third call up this year, and he didn't get to play the other two. So that really sucks for him on the first two, but he gets in tonight, and I thought he does really well. So, another guy that I think we need to point out tonight too, Joey, Ottinger was a lot better tonight. Jake, he wasn't making spectacularly overt saves, highlight quality, Sports Center top 10 reels, but I was a little bit less on him in the Wild game, and Jacob and Chad over here was very much on him and was very upset with how he played. And looking back on it, I understand that Ottinger didn't play very well in the game, and he probably let some goals in that he shouldn't have, but he has been so solid this year that I wasn't willing to put that on that game on him, and I was more so on the offense. But he played a lot better tonight. He was solid, made the stops that he needed to. And again, I know Chicago, but again, this is a moral victory where we actually have a win. So it's okay to take the moral victories with the win.
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Jake Ottinger. I probably love him too much, and people probably can't stand to hear me talk about him and the way I think of him as just a really, really solid, I truly think he's an elite netminder in the NHL at his best. Is he so consistently enough right now? No, but I mean, he's made it to the Western Conference Finals a couple years in a row, and he's 25 years old. Not a lot of young netminders do that. And I think a lot of Stars fans would say he's sucked in some of those playoff series. And he still has gotten to the Western Conference Final. And yeah, you could say the team in front of him is fantastic, but a lot of it does end on the goaltender because you like to put it on him when the Stars lose a lot. If you're going to use that, argument that, well, it's on Otter, well, he needs to deserve some credit for the wins. And yeah, tonight he was calm. Towards the end, a lot of shots from, the point and distance he easily handled. So it was a pretty easy night. Chicago didn't create a lot of dangerous, looks on the night, but I think he's phenomenal. And I think it's really easy to point towards him on bad nights. And yeah, he looked silly in overtime because he missed the poke check. That happens. He went for it, he missed it, and Faber made him pay. Faber's been doing that since he was 14, and he scored a pretty goal in OT. And yeah, you could put it on him, but I'm always going to ride with 29. I feel all the way until he's done. And it's probably extremely biased, but I think he's world class. And as for much as people give him flack, he's won a lot of games. And yeah, some of that is on the team in front of him. He's been ushered into a really good team, but he's been a backbone for the Stars over the last few years. And he needed one tonight, and he usually bounces back. So we'll take it.
And you were talking all of that, and the only thing that kept popping into my head was your best players got to be your best players. And I forgot who said it. It's probably Razor. And he says special teams and goaltending will win you 95% of the time or something like that.
Yeah, especially in the postseason now.
Yes. And they've had moments where they've figured it out, where their best players have been their best players, and they've gotten special teams done and taken care of, which they kind of did tonight in a way, kind of.
Yes.
But not in a way that you wanted to. But it's the big thing for me is that their best players this year have not always been their best players. And that encompasses everything. That encompasses the scoring of the last month. The goaltending of the last month hasn't been as solid as it was previously. It's almost like that injury with Seguin just started this whole downward spiral. And maybe Seguin was really that important to this team, and maybe Pavelski was as important to this team as, he was in the stands tonight there, which I guess that's the closest game to Wisconsin where he currently lives. I'm not sure. But
yeah, Madison. Yeah. Madison's like 2.5 hours, I think, or something like that. It's
oh yeah.
So he's able to make it down. I guess. I mean, as I think that's the closest NHL building to them too.
Yeah, and man, there was a couple of jokes in chat over here that were like, "Can we just have him just show up at the rink? Like
Exactly.
he didn't even have to coach or talk to the guys or anything. Just show up, and maybe we'll actually win a little bit more." I was like, maybe.
Yeah, with Pav, it's like I think we just truly undervalued like the locker room presence he has. And yeah, like they're having to replace all the points he produced too, but maybe like just in the locker room in general, like that just did a number on like maybe there's sometimes it just feels like you watch the Stars almost like they don't have a purpose when you watch them. And maybe Joe was always that purpose. And I think, I'm pretty sure the whole team knew that was going to be his last, postseason run last year. So there was something to play for. And this year, it's like they don't really have that like shining, northern light that they can go after. And like, this is the goal we're going to. And maybe Sagan was sort of that. He kind of ushered into that role. And then he goes out, which stinks. But yeah, there's a lot of improvements that need to be made, but it was good to see Joe in the building and all the pictures the Stars like posted. It was like, all right, yeah, like, they love him, and it was okay. Like all feels right in the world here for a bit, even if it is just for tonight.
There was a picture of him sitting next to Nil, and there was a lot of jokes going around with Nil talking, saying, how much are you going to come back? And he's just like, no, and then I put up a comment somewhere on X. I was just like pretending to be Nil, and I was just like, "Hey, if you come back, maybe you'll get to punch Dumba in the face. How about that?" Yeah. And I was, I mean, at this point, we'll take anything.
He could be a power play specialist, man.
Dude,
he doesn't even to play 5-on-5 anymore.
Yeah, like a designated hitter in MLB. Like we just need a designated hitter. He can be our designated power play specialist.
Mm-hmm. He'd be damn good at it.
Yeah, he is. He actually absolutely is. So, let me. Oh, that's on my end. Sorry, white noise from my daughter's stuff. Let me ask you a quick question here, though. Yes. For the Stars, I think one of the things I really want to discuss here and just kind of talk about real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap this thing up because we have gone really far. What should their strategy be on the power play? Because for me, I've always been, when something's not working, simplify it. Yeah. Go get the dirty, nasty, greasy goals because nothing seems to be working right now. But it seems like the things that have been working for the Stars is when they connect on their power plays, or when they connect on their power plays, it's off of the rush or even just in a game. And maybe that's just the issue. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it should be more so off the rush, or should they go and get the nasty goals a little bit more, which I know is not the play style, but right now nothing's going into the net for them?
Yeah, I've thrown out a few things. I think they should attack more off the rush because I think they have so much speed that puts the opposition on their heels, like with Rope and Stankoven, especially the way he's able to just drive into the offensive zone and really almost enter the offensive zone solo by himself, which creates time and space for others. I've always said I think they need to work below the dots a lot more. And you see the way that Chicago was killing Dallas tonight, and they just pushed way up. You heard on the ESPN broadcast the way they were describing it. They pushed way up towards the blue lines, and like the goal that Dallas scored tonight, right? Like they had to make three like really, really great passes through sticks and skates to even get a look from Robertson and him like trying to split between three different Blackhawks to score. But like, how many times have we seen the Stars not make those three perfect passes because it goes off a stick, goes off a skate, and it's out of the zone? Feel like they have to work below the tops of the circles more, feed the goal line and get players in front of the net and score some of those more greasy goals, because teams are going to take away 4 and they're going to try to take away 21. If they can take away 4 and 21, Dallas almost has no other options. You see it all the time. If Robo and Miro are not able to put together 3 or 4 passes, it just evaporates like that. And they feel like it just feels like they can't do anything without 21 and 4 facilitating. If they work below the dots a bit more, I think they'll create some more space for guys like Robo to make plays. And obviously the net front guy has hurt them without Joe, right? Just a guy that it was a vacuum and could clean up any sort of loose change. I think it has to get away from a lot of the perimeter work. And we saw that a lot where, there's some movement, but Miro seems he's never in a position to get a shot away in terms of he's not shooting to score. He's just shooting and hoping for a rebound or hoping for a deflection, where I feel like that's what you have a lot with Dallas's power play. It's a lot of stuff from the perimeter that they hope just gets through. And they have to start putting more pressure on netminders, getting them moving side to side. You saw it tonight a few times where Robo's just trying to beat Soderblom, one-on-one. And if the goalie sees it from the tops of circles, it's easily handled. So I think they should attack off the rush a bit more because they have so much speed, and sometimes, opposition's not even ready for it. And I think they almost had one tonight too with Rope when he was driving down. It may have been on that 5-minute one, but they need a little bit of everything. What has frustrated me is that I just feel like nothing's really changed strategically wise, like philosophy wise. Seems like the same operation. They're trying to change up some personnel, but it's been the same thing. And again, we got one tonight, but are we going to be sitting here in 4 days and thinking, oh, they went 0 for 7 after the last 2 games, and we're back to the same story. And it probably will, because they're going to home, and they're like 10% at home. Just complete garbage.
They're 9.2% at home, I think, in a certain period of time. Less than 10%. They are the worst home power play in the NHL.
Yeah. It's baffling. It's baffling.
I don't understand.
It's not like they've had massive injuries to it's not like they've lost Rope or Robo or Johnston for 20 games this season. I've been saying it was a big part of that, but disgusting.
I'm just my biggest things for me is instead of just complaining about it, which I've done enough of that, trust me.
Yeah, amen.
But you got to find solutions. So here's some of my solutions. Yes. And what I think you need to do, and I can't believe I'm saying this because he's our number one guy, but I think Miro needs to be on the second power play unit because he is just that good defensively that he is more useful for the Stars 5-on-5 against the other team's best players.
Yeah.
And especially this year, he just hasn't shown that same offensive ability. And I think you need to give more opportunities. One to Harley. I think he's. I don't want to say he's more offensively gifted because I don't believe that, but he has shown a little bit more offensive push the last couple of years than Miro has, and that's through no fault of Miro's at all. He's been really, really good.
Yeah.
And then another guy who kind of deserves a little bit more is Nils. I think he at least deserves a look, which he has had some chances. He got some power play time tonight when it didn't really matter that much. And then one other guy that I think would be fun. I'm kind of stealing this from Ludsey a little bit, but put Liam Bichsel in front of the opposing goalie.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares if he's a defenseman? Like, seriously, who cares? Nothing else is working right now. And, Hintz is now the net front guy instead of Marchment because Marchment is out. And then Ben wasn't really working as a net front guy as much anymore. Why not put a guy that is 6'7", 235, 240 pounds in front of another big guy, which most goalies in the NHL now are like 6'4" and above.
Yes.
I mean, look at Ottinger. And just create a little bit of chaos. And if you do that with Bichsel, he has some offensive abilities there. And Ledsey talked about how Darian Hatcher would do that back in the day in the late 90s, early 2000s when he was here. And then if you have that ability there, then you can trust Harley to get the puck through past that first guy. You've got Bischel in front to create enormous amounts of chaos. And he's not going to get pushed over very often. And then I think the biggest thing is you got to look for second and third opportunities.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Benn goal, I know it's not a power play goal, but it's a pseudo power play goal. It was right after the power play had ended. And Dodonov gets absolutely robbed. Should probably deserve a goal there. But all Jamie does is he just goes in and just,
Chunks
just
it home.
flashes at it. I mean, that's all he does.
Yeah.
And it was a second opportunity goal. It wasn't the only one. And I mean, even the one that bounced off of Wyatt Johnston, it was just kind of thrown at the net and went in. You know what? When you're not scoring goals like this team isn't, that's what you do. You go and you find those second and third opportunities and you just kind of throw it at the net. So that's a lot to kind of unpack and everything like that. But those are my three biggest suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of one and dones. You talking about second and third chances. Like, they just get a shot and it's cleared.
Even tonight, there was a lot of that.
Yeah. But in that 5 minute, like, they were hunting the puck for once. It felt like they were sending 2-3 guys, and they did create some second opportunities off that. Didn't lead to their goal, but there was just some jump to like just want the puck. And there are some times where you feel it's just there's no battle to go win a 50-50 puck on the power play, especially. It's like you have an extra guy. Send 2 or 3 there to swarm it and try to dig it free. And yeah, you mentioned where it's just, so many shots get blocked too, and then it's cleared, and they've struggled on their entries. The thing that kills me, number one, on the man advantage, and I talk about it all the time, is every time that on the entry, when Jamie Benn sits at the blue line and he's flat-footed, and either Miro, Stankoven, whoever it is, comes across the line and he drops it off to Jamie Benn, and Jamie Benn is flat-footed and has no play, has no option. Oh, I'm going to break my window if I watch that. I watched it so many times. Like the amount of times they have guys that are just flat-footed when they receive the puck. Yeah, and Robo's part of that, where he just sits at the right circle. You're not a threat to anybody over there, and Benn. It really irritates me when he's on the wing too. Like, Jamie Benn should be in front of the netminder. He doesn't need to be making plays at the left circle. How many times he tries to force a pass back to Miro from the left circle and it gets broken up. And you can say that for Miro too. The amount of times he forces really tough passes through sticks. It's just, as you said, simplify it. Like, they make it really hard. And this sort of brings it back to my original point here. 8 minutes into this thing, a lot of stuff has been really hard for the Stars this season. It's been a chore to do a lot. And the power play has certainly been one of those things, but maybe the one goal tonight, and 5 on the evening is something that frees up their mind a bit. Confidence is everything, especially with goal scorers. Hopefully this is a chance for them to turn the tide. And I've said it like 4 different times after games. I was like, oh, this is a turning point win. And then that falls flat on its face. So yes.
Yeah. That's the frustrating thing. Again, just consistently inconsistent. They just, this is a statement win. I think I've said that 2 or 3 times this year about, okay, now they're going to turn it around, and then they don't.
Yeah. That Winnipeg win at the beginning of the month, I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. Here goes the Stars.
Yeah. And it's just, there have been so many games where they've played against good teams. They've done really well. And then they just find ways to lose. They just find, the Minnesota game is absolutely a perfect example of that. And then like some of their home losses, like some of the Ducks,
Anaheim,
no offense to the Ducks, they're getting better and they're more fun to watch this year. But dang, they stink.
New York was bad too.
New York, oh my goodness, they're literally like selling players off, and they still are able to beat the Stars. And then the Predators.
Yeah.
you get so frustrated because you don't know what this team is. Like,
No.
and that's where
That makes it fun, at least.
yesterday I was like, this team is a pretender. Like, I had
Yeah.
this team as a contender, and now they're a pretender just because they can't get there. They just can't.
Yeah, I love the Dallas Cowboys conversation going on in the comments. I love it.
I know, and the Mavs,
Yes,
actually, too,
and the
yeah.
Mavs now, yeah. Oh man, well, I love to throw shots at the Cowboys in every episode when I do my ad reads. So
Yes.
if I can sneak in a little punch, Cowboys. But yeah, no, it's and like I said, like I was asked, are they stars? Are they a playoff team? And I was like, oh gosh, like but I think they're going to be fine. I truly do believe that. I think they just there's a lot of room for improvement. In a few weeks we could really be sitting here and be like, okay, maybe they're 2 points behind Minnesota for second. And I think this is the season of like it truly is just get to the postseason, like make it to April. But like that is a question though, and you said that like. No, like, yeah, they were out of playoff spot. That is a real possibility. I want to make that clear. Like, it is very possible as Stars like collapse, a few injuries here or there. And then maybe Jim Nill doesn't want to be aggressive with the cap space. Maybe doesn't want to be aggressive to go out and get some pieces. And, you're looking at a team that, maybe sneaks into an 8 or 7 seed. Or is on the outside looking in with, a month and a half to go. Hopefully that's not the case. I truly don't believe that will be the case, but I think it really is just, let's just get through 82 and go from there. Cause teams can flip the switch. And I think Dallas has done that a bit, just within games. It hasn't been for the, whole season yet, but we can flip the switch hopefully with what they have.
We could go on for for a whole lot longer, I feel like, but I mean,
it's almost midnight.
I know. Well, I mean, I don't even know where to go. Screw Patrick Maroon, by the way. Screw that guy.
Yeah, that was dirty.
Why?
For.
Why?
It's Maverick Bork out of all people,
okay, do it to Jamie Benn, do it to Bishop.
I know he's frustrated, but like that's he should get suspended for that. I don't know if that's harsh, but like that's just so unnecessary. And it wasn't. Okay, it was dirty. It wasn't. Was it the most dangerous thing I've ever seen? No, but like there's just like I feel like the NHL needs to make a example out of him, right? Like it's like like Rimpe did on Miro, which is another hit. It's just blasphemous. Ryan, I've always been baffled, and I talked about this on Locked On. So I want to get your thoughts on it because growing up, and I don't think you played hockey growing up, did you? I don't know if you played competitively. I
did a little bit.
You did a little bit. Okay, perfect. So then you absolutely know, Ryan, that you are always told when you were like 8 years old, you'd never hit a guy in the back of the jersey. You never hit numbers. They used to have little stop signs up there above that when you were playing. You never.
I forgot about that.
Right? Yeah.
Yes,
but
you're right.
But in the NHL, like I always found it weird. Like, I used to go to Stars games with my dad, and like it's always been acceptable that you can kind of just hit guys from behind, and it's not always the most dangerous hits, but like Miro, the amount of times he gets ran from behind, and it's not always dirty because sometimes Miro's right up against the glass and some guy will just slam into the back of him. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like it's just acceptable. And then like, it gets to the point where you allow everything. And then finally Rimpe, makes a really dangerous hit. And then you're like, oh, like now this is a penalty, but it's like, well, you've allowed this to go on for so long. And for a player that's pretty much making his career out of trying to just destroy people, like that's Rimpe's game. And I don't knock him for that. Like that's where he feels that that's his way to become an NHL player. Maybe it's sad on some level because he does have some skill and he actually had a pretty nice game up until that point. That's like, like he's going to do that and you allow it. And he's been suspended like 4 times already, or he's been thrown out of games. So you would think he would get the message, but anyways, that's my little soapbox on the hitting from behind thing, because just like you were always said not to do it, but in the NHL, it's like, it's almost acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. what I don't understand about Rimpey particularly, and Chris and I both talked about this, and we admitted it. He's good for the NHL, like to build numbers, to grow the game. He is a guy that you want.
Yeah.
He's enormous. He's huge. He's a physical presence, but I think the NHL did exactly that. What you were talking about, they made a case out of him, and just said, okay, look, you got to cut this crap out. Because I was surprised about the amount of games that he got. Because Chris
I was shocked.
Chris said 4, and I said 6, and then when it came out and he said 8, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it was because it was Rimpey too. I mean, if it was anybody else, it's probably max 4, right? Like, maybe even less. But I think it was because it was Rimpey. They gave him 8, and yeah, I was shocked as well about that.
Yeah, it's just. And I'm just glad to see Blackwell's okay too. I'm honestly a little bit surprised they threw him out of the game.
Oh, I was baffled too.
And they said that it was according to the rule book, which okay, fine.
Wow.
But the rule book is stupid sometimes in professional sports. Dak caught it, or not Dak caught it. Dez caught it. My gosh, man, we're bringing all sorts of sports into the episode tonight, but. It's just like the rule books are stupid. They need to be changed. That's one I think needs to be changed. And was it a penalty? Yeah, sure, fine. But not a 5-minute major in a game misconduct, really?
Yeah, well, supposedly I saw it on X. I guess he broke his nose. So Blackwell's nose is broken. So
I
maybe,
did not see that.
Yeah. I just saw that roll. So maybe it was worthy because you injured the player. But I was with you when I saw it. I was like, okay, like maybe 4 minutes and maybe a double minor or something.
Yeah.
I don't think he was intending to do it, but there is the thing where you have to be in control of your body parts. And all that, and two, the national broadcast referee has never disagreed ever with the on-field call of the referees. Never have I ever heard a differing opinion, and it irritates the absolute hell out of me. Because when Jackson was like, I think it's a right call, I was like, what? Like, you really? But maybe it was right. Like. I guess he broke his nose.
He knows the rule book.
Yeah, well, Dave Jackson, what a guy. But yeah, no national broadcast referee, Gene Saratori and all that. They never disagree. Always got them, which I don't understand. Like, we would like you a lot more if you actually said that's a horse crap call. You should do that a bit more.
Well, I was just surprised by it. I was really glad that Colin Blackwell was okay. Just because
he's been so good recently.
He's been really good. Darren, to answer your question, is Mush really out for a month? They say week to week. I think it's month to month, man.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm really worried that it's like a broken orbital bone or something like that.
Yeah.
Where basically the sinus cavity is just caved in.
Yeah.
Because I was there and
they look pretty.
Yeah, and like even the Minnesota Wild players who were like, that biggest hated rival of the Stars, they said stop. Even,
right away.
Even Gustafsson was like, okay, no, just stop the game. Like, stop. He's clearly hurt. And there was just all sorts of blood on the ice too. I really hope he's okay, but he's got to be out for more than a month.
You're probably right. Well, Yanni Hakanpää was day-to-day for about 4 months, Ryan. I was looking forward to his return in the postseason every single game last year. I think he told us they were day-to-day since in February all the way till the end. I was like, what is going on here? And then to find out there was absolutely no way he was coming back to play.
Yeah.
But, they like to be tight-vested with some stuff, but anyway, yeah, you're probably right though, which stinks because for a selfish reason, I predicted him to score 30 this year, so this is putting a damper into that quest because he's been off to such a roaring start. But player, the people had to come around on him at the beginning of his Stars career, but he's become quite the fan favorite, which is good. Yep,
he's like a mixture of Antoine Roussel and I don't know,
Cody Eakin.
Yeah, that's a good. Cody Eakin's a decent one, like a Cody Eakin to Donoff kind of guy. Yeah, it's not bad. Well, I can't believe it's been an hour, but it's been about an hour.
Yes.
We got to end it on this though, because we always end it on this way.
Okay.
Biggest winner, biggest loser. Who have you got for the game today?
Oh, well, biggest winner. I'll give Jamie Benn a shout out tonight. Thought he did some Jamie Benn things. It was nice to see him get 3 points. So I'll give Jamie Benn some love in the contest. Oh, biggest loser. Oh man, I feel like that's almost hard for tonight. I'm trying to think of someone that had a rough contest. I feel like everybody defensively was pretty good tonight, for the most part. Really like Bischel's game. I'll go Sam Steele. I feel like we didn't get a lot out of him, for as impactful as a player's usually is. So I'm gonna go with Steele. And that's a really soft loser, but I have to pick one. So I'm gonna go with him. Oh, can you pick anybody? I see Jacob went with Bertuzzi. Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, I apologize. Yeah. I was going Stars. That's on my bad. Well, biggest loser is definitely Maroon then for what he did at the end of the game. I'm going with Maroon. Thank you for I didn't know this was open sesame. I was thinking to Stars. So
yeah. There's no what do you call him? There's no rules when it comes to biggest winner, biggest loser. There have been sometimes we pick somebody who didn't even play in the game.
Yeah, I love it.
Like
maybe
last year,
Steve Spot again.
Yeah. Last year we said Nils Lundqvist a whole bunch just because he was getting scratched and he wasn't getting in the games. Yeah. So we said he was the biggest loser because they had a good game or whatever.
Biggest winner, Joe Pavelski then tonight.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that. You should have gave me the parameters. I was trying to make such a detailed answer to it. Anyways, go ahead.
For the real answer is Jamie Benn for me too. But you know what? I'll give it to Rezkovian. First NHL game, played okay, got his feet wet. He looks like he's gonna get to play for a while here. So we'll see how he does, and maybe they mix up the lines again. And since you took Maroon, I'll go with Jacob with Bertuzzi because I mean that really was the turning point in the game.
Yeah,
like, the Stars kind of figured it out after that, and that's where they got their one power play goal was off of Bertuzzi's thing. So, and even if it was a minor, just 2 minutes. Maybe they still score the goal like they did with the 5-minute major. And so I'll choose to believe that in that universe that happens. So, but there's so many players that did well tonight. It's just, again, just to wrap it up, just, it's got to be consistent.
Yes.
It's got to be way more consistent than it's been. So, okay. I mean, I was about to say you got anything else, but like I got a lot of other things, but I'm tired.
No, Ben, I'm good. I'm good for tonight. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a long weekend, but this was good. It was lethargic for me, and hopefully you as well. It's nice to bounce ideas off other people, and to realize we're sometimes in the same bubble and we're not in our own thoughts. So. Yeah, I look forward to the New Year's Eve game. Those are always fun. So that should be a good time. And hopefully we can do this a bit more. I know our schedules get busy, but it was good to catch up.
Likewise, man. Seriously. And please beat the Sabres. Please. Like this is such a trap game. They just came off of a 13 winless skid and they've won their last 3 games. I think something like that. And just, man.
Oh, it'll be interesting. I'll tell you that right now. It will not be easy. Dallas Stars like to make it interesting. So yeah, it's all right. So great way to ring in the new year, Ryan. Maybe a nice little 4-3 overtime win for Dallas.
I would be much happier with a 6-0 blowout of the Sabres.
Yeah, we need 10 like they put up in Buffalo a few years back.
Well, anyways, thanks, Joey, so much for doing
Absolutely,
this.
Man.
I really appreciate it. It was a little bit of a therapeutic session for me tonight. So again, thank you for talking me through some of my frustrations, as I'm sure I'm talking you through some of yours. Again, like you said, lots of ideas thrown off there. So thank y'all. Thank you for doing this again. So
absolutely, man. Have a good one.
Yep. You too. Game Time, DraftKings, thank you for our sponsors, promo code THPN. We'll be back with you guys again on the next episode. Hope you guys have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. And since Chris is not here, I'll do it for him. GG boys. See you guys on New Year's Eve.